The first sign of humanity's changing fate arrived on a quiet Tuesday morning in Geneva. Dr. Sarah Chen stood before the United Nations Security Council, her hand steady despite the weight of the message she carried. The Deep Space Signal Array at Arecibo had detected something that would forever alter humanity's place in the cosmos. "The transmission is clear," she announced, her voice echoing through the chamber. "We are not alone, and they are coming." The room erupted in murmurs as she displayed the decoded message. The Arcturian Empire, as they called themselves, had deemed Earth worthy of elevation into their interstellar hierarchy. But Director Marcus Reynolds of the newly formed Global Defense Initiative saw through the diplomatic pleasantries. In his secured office beneath the Rocky Mountains, he reviewed the message again, noting the subtle threats woven between lines of supposed goodwill. "They're not coming to welcome us," he muttered to his assembled staff. "They're coming to collect us." Within hours, the world's leading quantum physicists, engineers, and military strategists were quietly relocated to secure facilities across the globe. Project Oracle, humanity's contingency plan for extraterrestrial contact, shifted from theoretical exercise to active protocol. The public face of Earth showed business as usual. Political squabbles, economic competitions, and social media trends continued unabated. But beneath the surface, humanity prepared. Dr. Chen's team worked tirelessly in their underground laboratory in New Zealand, perfecting the quantum entanglement drive that would power Earth's defense fleet. In the Sahara, massive underground manufacturing facilities took shape, their existence hidden by elaborate holographic camouflage. The Antarctic ice sheets concealed a network of artificial intelligence centers, processing combat scenarios and developing countermeasures against technologies humanity had yet to encounter. The Arcturian diplomatic vessel arrived 3 months later, descending through Earth's atmosphere with casual disregard for air traffic control protocols. Their ambassador, a towering figure with iridescent scales and multiple sets of eyes, spoke of peace while his gaze betrayed contempt. "Your world has great potential," he announced to the UN Assembly. "Under our guidance, you will find your proper place in the galactic community." Director Reynolds watched the broadcast from his command center, noting how the alien diplomat's translator carefully avoided terms like sovereignty or independence. The Arcturians had conquered 17 worlds before Earth, each time following the same pattern: diplomatic overtures, cultural integration, and finally, complete subjugation. But Earth would be different. In secure facilities around the world, the quantum defense grid quietly came online. Microscopic probes, powered by zero-point energy, monitored every move the Arcturian ship made. Dr. Chen's team had cracked the basics of their communication technology within days, and now Earth's AIs were deep within the Arcturian information networks, gathering intelligence while leaving no trace of their presence. The Arcturians mistook humanity's apparent technological gap for weakness. They saw nations squabbling over fossil fuels and assumed Earth had no better energy sources. They observed our chemical rockets and dismissed our space capabilities, all according to plan. When the Arcturian ambassador demanded Earth's response to their generous offer of elevation, the UN Security Council requested time for global consultation. The ambassador sneered but granted 30 Earth days for deliberation. In his mind, it was merely a delay of the inevitable. But in those 30 days, humanity's preparations accelerated. The quantum defense grid achieved full operational status. The first fleet of ships, hidden in underwater bases and lunar caves, underwent their final systems checks. Dr. Chen's breakthrough in quantum entanglement communication meant Earth's forces could coordinate instantly, regardless of distance or interference. Director Reynolds stood in the primary command center on day 29, watching status reports from around the globe. Manufacturing centers reported ready. Defense systems were primed. The AI networks were fully operational. Humanity's trap was set. "They think they're dealing with primitives," he addressed his staff. "They expect us to either submit or resist futilely with conventional weapons. They don't realize that we've spent these 3 months not just catching up to their technology, but surpassing it in key areas. Dr. Chen's voice came through the quantum comm system, clear as if she were in the room. The quantum drive signatures are masked. They have no idea we've even theorized this technology, let alone mastered it. Their scans show exactly what we want them to see. A planet still struggling with basic fusion power and chemical propulsion. Around the world, humanity's leaders received their final briefings. Everything was in place. When the Arcturian ambassador returned for Earth's answer, he would find neither submission nor primitive resistance. Instead, he would discover that humanity had spent the last 3 months preparing a response that would shake the foundations of his empire. The 30 days were almost up. In hidden bases and secret facilities across the planet, humanity's defenders stood ready. They had worked in silence, prepared in secret, and now waited for the moment to show the galaxy that humanity would not be just another conquest in the Arcturian Empire's collection. Tomorrow, Earth would give its answer, and nothing in the galaxy would ever be the same. The Arcturian ambassador's expression shifted from confidence to confusion as he stood before the United Nations Assembly. Earth's response was not what his empire had anticipated. Instead of submission or desperate pleas for more time, humanity's representative simply smiled and said, "No, thank you." In high orbit, the Arcturian battle fleet emerged from fold space, thousands of ships appearing like artificial stars against the black of space. Their arrival was meant to coincide with Earth's expected refusal, a show of overwhelming force to crush any resistance before it began. Standard procedure for the Empire, executed flawlessly 17 times before. The electromagnetic pulse came first, a cascading wave of energy designed to blind and cripple Earth's primitive electronic infrastructure. Across the planet, power grids flickered and died. Communications networks fell silent. Satellites stopped broadcasting. In the assembly hall, the lights went dark. The ambassador's confused expression transformed into a triumphant smile. "This is but a taste of the consequences of defiance," he declared to the assembly, his voice carrying in the darkness. "Submit now, and we will restore your systems." Director Reynolds sat in the darkened command center, watching through quantum-enhanced imaging as the Arcturian ships moved into attack formation. "They still think we're blind," he commented to his staff. "Signal Dr. Chen. Time for Phase 2. In her underground facility, Dr. Chen initiated the quantum defense grid. Microscopic probes scattered throughout Earth's atmosphere began their work, invisible to conventional sensors. The Arcturian fleet's advanced scanning systems suddenly reported conflicting data, their targeting computers unable to maintain lock on any terrestrial objectives. The ambassador's communicator crackled with desperate messages from the fleet. Their weapons were firing, but somehow missing their targets entirely. Defensive shields flickered erratically, despite no apparent attacks, and most disturbing of all, their sophisticated navigation systems could no longer distinguish up from down. "Impossible," he hissed, his scales shifting color with agitation. "Your species lacks the technology to." "To what?" The question came from Dr. Chen, who had quietly entered the assembly hall. "To understand quantum field manipulation, to develop countermeasures to your supposedly superior technology. You made a fundamental mistake, Ambassador. You assumed that because we didn't flaunt our capabilities, we had none." Across the globe, humanity's hidden infrastructure activated. Massive generators powered up in underground facilities, their energy signatures masked by quantum field distortion. The blackout had been selective. While the public power grid remained dark, military and essential systems operated at full capacity, shielded from both the EMP and Arcturian detection. In orbit, the first signs of humanity's true capabilities revealed themselves. The dead satellites transformed, quantum shields shimming into visibility as they activated their weapon systems. The Arcturian fleet found itself surrounded by a defensive network they hadn't known existed. "Your empire's pattern was easy to predict." Director Reynolds' voice echoed through the assembly hall speakers. "You've done this 17 times before. Each time, You expect the same sequence of events: show of force, technological submission, cultural absorption, complete dominance. But you never considered what would happen if a species chose to hide their advancement instead of displaying it. The ambassador's translator struggled to keep up with his rapid, agitated speech as he demanded explanations, threatened consequences, promised retribution. But his words carried less weight with each passing moment as reports from his fleet grew increasingly desperate. Earth's quantum defense grid had rendered the Arcturians' most powerful weapons useless. Their ships, unable to maintain stable positions due to localized gravitational distortions, began to drift out of formation. Communication between vessels became unreliable as quantum interference scrambled their signals. In the Antarctic AI centers, advanced combat systems coordinated Earth's response with precision impossible for organic minds to match. The satellite defense network executed perfect targeting solutions, disabled Arcturian ships with surgical precision, carefully avoiding destruction in favor of incapacitation. "We could destroy your fleet," Dr. Chen informed the increasingly agitated ambassador. "But that's not our goal. Consider this a demonstration and a warning. Earth is not like the other worlds you've conquered. We will not submit, and we will not be absorbed into your empire." The assembly hall's lights flickered back to life, revealing the gathered representatives of Earth's nations standing united before the ambassador. Outside, the public power grid began to restore itself, the blackout ending as suddenly as it had begun. "Your empire has expanded unchecked for too long," Director Reynolds' voice continued. "You've grown complacent, relying on the same tactics, the same assumptions, the same technologies. You never considered that a seemingly primitive species might choose to appear weak while preparing for your arrival." In orbit, Earth's satellite network had corralled the Arcturian fleet into a confined space, quantum fields preventing any attempt at fold space escape. The mighty armada that had arrived to subjugate another primitive world now floated helpless, their sophisticated technology rendered impotent by defenses they couldn't understand. The ambassador, his scales now a pale shade of defeat, received new orders from his empire's high command. For the first time in their history of expansion, the Arcturians faced a species that had not only anticipated their arrival, but had prepared specifically to counter their every advantage. As the ambassador prepared to return to his ship, Dr. Chen offered a final observation. "Your empire's greatest weakness was your certainty in your own superiority. Remember this day, when you thought the stars went dark for us, but instead, they went dark for you." The battle for Earth's future had only begun, but the first exchange had made one thing clear: humanity would not be conquered. They had prepared in silence, advanced in secret, and now stood ready to defend not just their world, but potentially all worlds from imperial ambition. The Arcturian High Command received the battle footage with stunned silence. Their invincible armada hung motionless in Earth's orbit, ensnared by invisible forces their most sophisticated sensors couldn't detect. But it was the next transmission that truly shook their empire to its core. Humanity's counteroffensive had begun. Dr. Chen stood in the Lunar Command Center, watching as Project Nightshade entered its final phase. "The quantum entanglement network is stable," she reported to Director Reynolds. "All ships report ready." Behind her, through the reinforced viewing windows, the first wave of Earth's defense fleet emerged from their hidden lunar bases, their quantum drives humming with power that defied conventional physics. The ships themselves were unlike anything the Arcturians had encountered in their millennia of conquest. Where imperial vessels were massive and imposing, humanity's ships were elegant and compact, their hulls incorporating metamaterials that bent light and sensor readings around them. They didn't so much fly through space as slip between its quantum fabric. "Begin Operation Starfall," Director Reynolds commanded from his Earth-based headquarters. Across the solar system, humanity's carefully positioned quantum probes activated simultaneously. The effect was immediate and devastating. Every Arcturian outpost and forward base suddenly found itself cut off from the Empire's quantum communication network. In the Arcturian palace ship, The Supreme Commander faced an unprecedented crisis. Not only had Earth resisted their initial assault, but now this supposedly primitive species was executing military maneuvers that shouldn't have been possible for centuries beyond their observed technology level. How? He demanded of his advisors. How did they hide this from us? The answer came in the form of a synchronized attack that demonstrated exactly how humanity had deceived them. Earth's quantum ships appeared simultaneously at every Arcturian stronghold in the solar system, their advanced drives allowing them to bypass traditional space-time limitations. The Empire's mighty defenses, designed to repel conventional attacks, proved useless against weapons that operated on quantum principles. Dr. Chen's breakthrough had made it all possible. While the Arcturians relied on brute force and energy weapons, humanity had developed technology that manipulated the fundamental forces of reality itself. Their quantum drives didn't just move ships through space. They temporarily rewrote the local laws of physics, making the impossible commonplace. Second wave, engage, Director Reynolds ordered. From hidden bases throughout the asteroid belt, another fleet of Earth ships emerged. These vessels carried the next phase of humanity's defensive strategy, quantum field generators capable of creating localized bubbles where Arcturian technology simply ceased to function. The Supreme Commander watched in horror as reports flooded in from across the system. One by one, Arcturian bases fell silent. Their mighty weapons rendered useless, their shields penetrated as if they didn't exist. Earth's forces weren't destroying their opponents. They were systematically dismantling the Empire's ability to wage war. In her lunar command center, Dr. Chen monitored the quantum network's performance. "The entanglement field is holding," she reported. "Their attempts to adapt their technology are being predicted and countered by our AI systems. The artificial intelligences, distributed across secure locations throughout Earth's sphere of influence, were processing combat data and updating defensive algorithms faster than the Arcturians could devise new strategies." The Empire's response was predictable. They called for reinforcements. Massive fleet elements began folding through space from nearby star systems, rushing to crush this unprecedented resistance. But humanity had prepared for this too. "Initiate Project Eclipse," Director Reynolds commanded. At the edge of the solar system, specially positioned quantum arrays activated, creating a barrier that prevented any ships from entering normal space within the system's boundaries. The reinforcements emerged from fold space only to find themselves trapped in a quantum bubble, unable to advance or retreat. The Supreme Commander received the reports with increasing desperation. Every tactic in the Imperial arsenal, perfected over thousands of years of conquest, was being countered before it could be fully implemented. Earth's forces seemed to be anticipating their every move, using technology that bordered on the impossible. "Your Empire's fundamental mistake," Dr. Chen's message echoed through every Arcturian communication channel, was assuming that technological advancement must follow a predictable path. "You thought that because we hadn't developed certain technologies, we couldn't have developed others. You never considered that we might choose a different path entirely." The quantum ships continued their systematic campaign, methodically neutralizing Arcturian military assets throughout the solar system. Earth's AI networks coordinated the assault with perfect precision, leaving the Empire's forces in complete disarray. Humanity's strategy wasn't aimed at destruction. It was a calculated demonstration of absolute technological superiority. Director Reynolds watched the tactical displays with grim satisfaction. The plan had worked perfectly. While the Arcturians had expected resistance with conventional weapons, humanity had developed an entirely different approach to warfare. Their quantum technology didn't just match the Empire's capabilities, it rendered them obsolete. In the Lunar Command Center, Dr. Chen initiated the final phase of Project Nightshade. The quantum entanglement network expanded, creating a web of interconnected fields that could be monitored and controlled with unprecedented precision. Earth now had the capability to detect and counter any Arcturian ship that entered the solar system. "Send the message," Director Reynolds ordered. Throughout the system, Earth's forces paused their advance, maintaining their positions as Dr. Chen transmitted humanity's terms to the Supreme Commander. The message was simple but profound. The era of Arcturian expansion was over. Earth was not just defending itself. It was prepared to ensure that no other world would face imperial conquest again. The quantum gambit had succeeded beyond all expectations. Humanity had not just resisted conquest, they had fundamentally changed the balance of power in the galaxy. And as the Arcturian Supreme Commander contemplated Earth's terms, one thing became crystal clear. They had severely underestimated humanity's potential, and that mistake would reshape the future of galactic civilization. News of Earth's successful resistance spread through the Arcturian Empire like a quantum shockwave. On 17 subjugated worlds, populations who had lived under imperial control for generations began to whisper about the impossible, a planet that had not only resisted but had thoroughly defeated their supposedly invincible overlords. Director Reynolds stood before a holographic display of the galaxy, watching as quantum probes transmitted data from far beyond Earth's solar system. "Show me the Centauri colonies," he commanded. The display shifted, revealing the Empire's oldest conquered worlds, where the first sparks of rebellion were already igniting. Dr. Chen's voice came through the quantum comm network, clear and urgent. "The Centaurians have made contact. They're requesting our help." She paused, examining the encrypted transmission. "They've been maintaining a secret resistance movement for 3 centuries, waiting for an opportunity like this." In the Arcturian palace ship, now effectively under house arrest by Earth's quantum containment fields, the Supreme Commander watched his empire crumble. The quantum technology that had so thoroughly defeated his forces was spreading. Transmitted through the very network the Empire had used to maintain control of its territories. "Begin Phase 4, Director Reynolds ordered. Across the galaxy, dormant quantum probes activated, establishing a network that would allow instant communication between Earth and any world that wished to break free from imperial control. The technology that had defended Earth would now serve to liberate others. The first open rebellion began on Proxima B, the Empire's primary manufacturing hub. The native species, inspired by Earth's example, launched a coordinated uprising using plans and technology secretly transmitted through Dr. Chen's quantum network. Imperial forces found their weapons and shields failing, just as they had in Earth's solar system. "We didn't just develop technology to defend ourselves," Dr. Chen explained to the assembled representatives of 17 worlds, their quantum-projected images filling the UN Assembly Hall. "We created systems that could be shared, adapted, and used by any species fighting for their freedom. The quantum network doesn't just connect us, it empowers us all." The liberation spread faster than anyone had anticipated. World after world rose up against their Arcturian overlords, using variations of Earth's quantum technology adapted to their own unique physiologies and environments. The Empire's rigid military doctrine, unchanged for millennia, had no effective response to these synchronized rebellions. In his Rocky Mountain Command Center, Director Reynolds coordinated with resistance leaders across the galaxy. Earth's AI networks provided tactical support, analyzing imperial defenses and developing customized strategies for each world's liberation. The quantum network allowed real-time sharing of battlefield data, ensuring that any imperial adaptation was quickly countered and shared with all resistance forces. "Your empire's greatest weakness," Dr. Chen's message echoed through every imperial command channel, "was believing that control could only flow in one direction. You never considered that the same networks you used to maintain power could become the conduit for revolution." The Arcturian response was predictable. They attempted to shut down their own communication networks, hoping to isolate the rebellions. But Earth had anticipated this too. The quantum entanglement system operated independently of imperial technology, allowing resistance forces to coordinate even as the Empire's infrastructure collapsed. One by one, imperial strongholds fell, not through destruction, but through the systematic neutralization of their ability to project power. Earth's approach to liberation was as elegant as it was effective. Imperial forces found themselves contained and isolated, their mighty weapons rendered useless by quantum fields they couldn't detect or counter. In the assembly hall, Director Reynolds addressed the growing coalition of liberated worlds. Earth's defense was never meant to be just about our planet, he explained. We developed these technologies knowing that if we could resist the Empire, others could too. Freedom, like quantum entanglement, knows no boundaries of space or time. The implications of Earth's strategy became clear as more worlds gained their independence. Humanity hadn't just developed advanced technology. They had created a new paradigm for galactic civilization. The quantum network that had defended Earth and liberated others could now serve as the foundation for a new kind of interstellar community, one based on cooperation rather than conquest. Dr. Chen's team worked tirelessly, adapting the quantum systems to serve peaceful purposes. The same technology that had disabled Imperial ships could now power clean energy systems. The communication network that had coordinated resistance could facilitate cultural exchange and scientific collaboration. In the Palace ship, the Supreme Commander received reports of the Empire's dissolution with a mix of disbelief and dawning understanding. The mighty Arcturian Empire, built on the assumption of technological supremacy, had been undone not just by superior technology, but by the idea that power could be shared rather than imposed. The chains are breaking, Director Reynolds observed, watching the holographic display as more worlds declared their independence. But this is just the beginning. The real challenge will be building something better in the Empire's place. Earth's quantum network continued to expand, connecting newly liberated worlds in ways the Empire never could. As former Imperial subjects began to communicate freely for the first time in centuries, a new galactic society began to take shape, one founded on the principles that had allowed humanity to resist conquest in the first place: innovation, cooperation, and the unwavering belief in the right of all species to determine their own destiny. 1 year after Earth's initial resistance, representatives from 100 worlds gathered in the orbital quantum conference chamber above humanity's homeworld. The massive station, built using technology that had once defended Earth from invasion, now served as a symbol of a new era in galactic civilization. Dr. Chen stood at the central podium, her image quantum projected to every participating world. Behind her, Earth shone like a jewel against the backdrop of space, its orbital defense grid now serving as an anchor point for the interstellar quantum network that connected former Imperial worlds. The Arcturian Empire believed that advancement must follow a single path. She addressed the assembled delegates. Their conquest was built on the assumption that all species would develop technology in the same way, at the same pace. Earth proved that assumption wrong, and in doing so, we discovered something remarkable. Every species has its own unique path to advancement. Director Reynolds, watching from his command center, nodded in agreement. The past year had revealed that each liberated world had developed hidden strengths during their periods of subjugation. The Centaurians had perfected biological computing. The Proximans had developed unprecedented material science. Each species had found its own way to resist, waiting for the opportunity that Earth's resistance finally provided. In the former Imperial Palace ship, now converted into a museum of liberation, the last Arcturian Supreme Commander prepared to address the conference. His presence was symbolic, a recognition that even the Empire's leadership had learned from their defeat. "We thought ourselves the pinnacle of evolution," he admitted to the gathered representatives. "Instead, we had become stagnant, blind to the possibilities that lay beyond our narrow view of progress." The quantum network that had once carried Earth's defensive strategies now hummed with scientific and cultural exchange. Species that had been isolated from each other under imperial rule discovered shared interests and complementary abilities. The same technology that had coordinated military resistance now facilitated unprecedented cooperation. But our greatest achievement, Dr. Chen continued, wasn't the technology we developed. It was proving that resistance against seemingly impossible odds isn't just possible. It's inevitable when you embrace innovation and cooperation instead of conformity and control. The conference marked the formal establishment of the Galactic Concordat, a new form of interstellar association based on principles learned from Earth's successful resistance. Each member world maintained its independence while contributing to a shared network of knowledge and resources. The quantum technology that had defeated the Empire now served as the foundation for a civilization that celebrated diversity rather than suppressing it. Director Reynolds addressed the assembly through the quantum network, his words reaching every participating world simultaneously. Earth's legacy isn't just the quantum technology we developed. It's the proof that every species, every world, has the potential to contribute something unique to our shared future. The Empire's mistake was trying to force everyone down the same path. Our success comes from recognizing that there are countless paths to advancement. The orbital station's quantum field generators hummed as delegates from former Imperial worlds shared their own stories of hidden resistance and secret development. Each account reinforced the fundamental truth that had shattered the Empire. True strength comes not from imposing uniformity, but from embracing diversity. In the station's primary research hub, Dr. Chen's team worked alongside scientists from dozens of species, each bringing their own perspective to the advancement of quantum technology. The defensive systems that had protected Earth were being adapted for peaceful purposes, terraforming inhospitable worlds, healing environmental damage, and exploring the deepest mysteries of spacetime. The Empire asked us to submit, Dr. Chen reminded the assembly, because they couldn't imagine that a seemingly primitive world might have chosen a different path of advancement. They saw our chemical rockets and assumed we were centuries behind them. They never considered that we might have focused our development in directions they hadn't explored. The quantum network continued to expand, reaching deeper into space, discovering more worlds that had lived under Imperial shadow. Each new contact brought fresh perspectives and unique contributions to the growing galactic community. Earth's resistance had started more than a rebellion. It had sparked a renaissance. Director Reynolds watched as the conference drew to a close, the quantum feeds showing celebrations erupting on worlds across the galaxy. We didn't just break an empire, he observed to his staff. We proved that the future belongs to those who dare to think differently, to develop in unexpected ways, to resist the temptation of easy conquest in favor of genuine progress. The legacy of Terra, as it came to be known throughout the galaxy, wasn't just a story of successful resistance against overwhelming odds. It was a testament to the power of hidden strength, of choosing one's own path of development, of daring to advance in ways that others might not understand or expect. As the conference concluded, Dr. Chen made one final observation that would be remembered for generations. The stars didn't just witness our resistance, they saw the birth of a new way forward. Earth's legacy isn't that we fought back against conquest, but that we showed the galaxy a better way to advance together. In doing so, we didn't just save our world, we helped create a future where every world can find its own path to the stars. The quantum network pulsed with activity as delegates returned to their homeworlds, carrying with them not just advanced technology, but a new understanding of what civilization could become when it embraced diversity instead of demanding conformity. The Empire had sought to conquer Earth and found instead a force that transformed the galaxy, proving that the greatest power lies not in domination, but in the courage to develop in unexpected ways and the wisdom to share those developments with others.